You weren't just unlucky as a child. If you were not loved as a child, something fundamental was missing while your brain was being wired. And it didn't disappear. It grew with you. If this video feels uncomfortable, that's because it's about you. About the quiet damage of not being loved as a child psychology never warns you about. And by the end, you'll understand why unloved childhood effects shape your entire adult life, without you realizing it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Childhood emotional neglect doesn't feel dramatic. There were no bruises. No screaming every day. Just absence. Silence. Emotional deprivation childhood experts rarely take seriously. But emotional neglect psychology shows something brutal. When love is missing early, your nervous system learns a dangerous rule. Needs are unsafe. Emotions are ignored. Connection is conditional. So you grow up as an unloved child grown up, carrying psychology of unloved children inside your body. This is why signs you were not loved as a child don't look obvious. They look normal. You struggle to feel close to people. You crave validation psychology explains as unmet emotional needs childhood created. You feel empty inside psychology because emotional trauma from childhood taught you to shut down. You don't feel broken. You feel numb. This is how lack of love affects adulthood. Attachment issues from childhood form before you ever had a choice. Attachment trauma psychology explains why you either cling or disappear in relationships. Anxious attachment childhood makes you fear abandonment. Avoidant attachment childhood makes you fear intimacy psychology more than loneliness. So you end up with relationship problems childhood trauma created. You overthink relationships. You fear closeness psychology labels as trust issues from childhood. You sabotage relationship psychology traces back to inner child wounds psychology. And you blame yourself. People-pleasing childhood trauma makes you earn love instead of receive it. Low self-esteem childhood neglect convinces you that love must be deserved. Why I feel unworthy of love comes from emotional deprivation disorder psychology, not weakness. This is abandonment issues psychology at work. Your body remembers what your mind forgot. Childhood trauma psychology shows that neglected child-adult behavior often includes emotional numbness psychology. Why I suppress emotions psychology comes from emotionally unavailable parents' effects. You learned that emotions create rejection. So you hide them. Difficulty expressing emotions childhood experiences taught you silence. Emotional repression psychology doesn't make pain disappear. It stores it. That's why deep loneliness childhood trauma creates feels permanent. Why I feel lonely psychology isn't about people around you. It's about emotional deprivation childhood left unresolved. And here's the part no one tells you. You didn't adapt poorly. You adapted perfectly to an unsafe environment. Human behavior childhood conditioning wired you for survival, not connection. Toxic parenting psychology, narcissistic parents effects psychology, absent parents emotional impact all create the same wound. Unmet emotional needs childhood fracture your sense of self. This leads to self-identity confusion psychology. Why I feel broken inside psychology isn't a character flaw. It's complex trauma psychology. cptsd childhood neglect doesn't require violence. cptsd symptoms psychology include hypervigilance, emotional shutdown, fear of intimacy psychology, and social anxiety childhood neglect. Your nervous system learned to expect rejection. Psychology of rejection sensitivity shows how childhood rejection trauma creates rejection sensitivity disorder childhood patterns. So you overanalyze. You withdraw. You brace for abandonment. This is psychology of insecure attachment in real life. You crave love but distrust it. You want closeness but fear it. You feel unlovable psychology rooted in core wounds psychology. This is why how childhood affects personality is so powerful. Personality shaped by childhood isn't destiny, but it feels like it. Mental patterns from childhood trauma repeat until they're made conscious. Subconscious wounds from childhood don't fade with time. They wait. But here's the part that matters. Healing childhood trauma psychology doesn't start with forcing confidence. It starts with recognizing the truth. You weren't difficult. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't unlovable. You were emotionally deprived childhood survivors become hyper-aware adults. Inner child healing psychology begins when you stop blaming yourself for wounds you didn't create. Understanding why childhood neglect affects adulthood gives you power. Power to stop self-sabotage childhood trauma patterns. Power to build trust slowly. Power to meet unmet emotional needs childhood left behind. Psychology of unloved children doesn't end in damage. It ends in awareness. And awareness changes everything. If you felt seen in this video, it's because this wasn't theory. It was your story. And now, you get to rewrite it.